Pursuant to the rule, the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Watson, and the gentleman from California, Mr. Issa, each will control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from California.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members may have 5 legislative days in which to revise and extend their remarks.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform presents for consideration H-Res 1026, which recognizes the 100th anniversary of the founding of the Congressional Club. The measure was introduced by Representative Sanford Bishop from the state of Georgia on March 6, 2008, and I, along with over 75 of my colleagues, are proud to be co-sponsors of this bill. H-Res 1026 was taken up and approved by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform as of April 9, 2008, which brings us up to today's consideration of the resolution. Originally established on May 20, 1908, for the purpose of providing a nonpartisan social setting for the spouses of members of the House and the Senate, the Congressional Club continues to serve its initial purpose, although the breadth and activities of the club have greatly expanded over the past century to include such annual events as the First Lady's Luncheon and Founders Day. I yield now to Mr. Sanford Bishop for as much time as he may consume.
The gentleman is recognized for as much time as he may consume.
I thank the gentlelady for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today along with Representatives Todd Tiehart, Jeff Miller, Doris Matsui, Joanne Emerson, John Tanner, and 76 other co-sponsors of H-Res 1026 to commemorate the Congressional Club on its 100th anniversary. The Congressional Club was established in 1908, quote, to promote sociability among its members, create a common meeting place, and further a personal acquaintance among the women of the congressional circle, end of quote. In the early 20th century, members of Congress actually had little time for making friends outside of Congress or government. It largely fell upon the wives to forge acquaintances in the nation's capital, since many of them led solitary lives away from their home states. In 1914, the club moved into a Beaux-Arts-style mansion located on the corner of New Hampshire Avenue and U Street Northwest here in Washington, D.C., where it continues to be the meeting place to this day. It has maintained its mission of serving as a place for spouses of members of both the House and the Senate to develop nonpartisan, bipartisan, I might say, friendships. In addition, its membership has been broadened to include both female and male spouses, as more women have been elected to Congress over the last century. The club also counts among its members spouses of Supreme Court justices and the President's cabinet, as well as former First Ladies. It has been a center for service since its founding, providing aid to our nation's soldiers, supporting local police and fire departments, hosting receptions for senior citizens, the disadvantaged, young people, and spouses of ambassadors. It is entirely self-supporting from membership dues and the sale of the Congressional Cookbook, which includes recipes and signatures of members of Congress, First Ladies, ambassadors, as well as members of the club. It's interesting to note that 100 years ago this May, it took the charm of a determined wife of a member of Congress to get the federal legislation incorporating the club approved by the House of Representatives. The House Minority Leader, John Sharp Williams of Mississippi, had opposed the bill and was using parliamentary procedures to delay and to defeat the bill. History has it that when Mrs. Williams, his spouse, who favored the club, heard about her husband's opposition, she invited him to lunch the day that the measure was to be considered on the House floor. After lunch, he withdrew his opposition and his request for a recorded vote, saying that, quote, "It is the opinion of the gentleman from Mississippi that there will not be a roll call because it would cause a great deal of unhappiness in Washington." As the proud spouse of the current president of the Congressional Club, Vivian Creighton Bishop, I am pleased to be the sponsor of this resolution commemorating the club on reaching this important milestone. I want to commend a number of people for their outstanding work in bringing this resolution to the floor. Richard Hinkle on Congressman Tihart's staff, Doug Thompson on Congressman Tanner's staff, Denise Wilson on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and Jonathan Halpern on my staff. I also would like to thank Vicki Tihart, Susie Skelton, Lydia Delavina DeFoley for their excellent efforts in support of the club and, of course, in support of this resolution. Mr. Speaker, I again thank my colleagues who are co-sponsors for their extraordinary support of this resolution, and I urge its immediate adoption. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back his time. The gentleman from California.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I too rise in support of this resolution. I certainly believe that 100 years of the attempts by spouses to have this body work together in a better, more collegial fashion is noteworthy. Today, though, as we honor the work of our spouses, and particularly those who would say that if in fact you don't do what I'd like you to do, it could cause a great deal of domestic unhappiness, I believe was the line, in Washington. We should take note that this body is not operating in a collegial